Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Paytm Money Talk. And the topic for today is building wealth through passive investing via mutual fund. I'm Neeraj Gogoi, your host for the talk. And this talk is powered by Paytm Money. I'm really excited to start this conversation on this very interesting topic. In fact, I would like to talk about what the Paytm Money Talk is all about. So, this is such a platform where we share ideas, strategies, and constantly changing landscape of investing world. We bring experts in the field who have been in the market managing funds for years, for decades, and also somebody who have been contributing through social media. And then we try to bring ideas which can help our investors, take a better decision while investing. So if you're somebody who is looking for new investment opportunities, this episode is exactly for you. So what we do here, valuable ideas from some of the brightest mind in the market. So you can play the video. So So when you look at the market today, it's never been so confusing and so complicated, volatile, like as it is now. You look at the geopolitical developments, interest rate, inflationary situations, recessions in European and America, and rising COVID cases in China. So from that perspective, it's very interesting to know, okay, going ahead, New Year's 2023 and beyond, what kind of investment strategies are going to help us building our wealth. To discuss this topic today, I have got a very interesting panel. My first panel member is Swati Kumari. So let me introduce Swati. She's a founder of a YouTube channel called Be Wealthy, helping people manage and grow their wealth. She has been constantly creating high quality content and explaining complicated financial concepts in a very lucid and simple manner. In fact, when I saw her video for the first time, it's really I got hooked to it. She has more than 15 years of experience in financial market. She was a senior presenter at CNBC and Z Awaz. That is the reason why we love to have Swati in our show. So without much delay, let's welcome Swati. Swati, welcome to the show.
Hi Neeraj, thank you for having me again.
It's a wonderful to have you here today, Swati, and such a interesting situation, right?
Yeah.
We have seen the market making a new high recently,
Hmm.
and then see the volatility, right?
Yep. Yep. In fact, I was just checking the market before this show started. नीरज बाजार आज फिर गिरा है और करीब 900 पॉइंट से ज्यादा और
Mhm.
जब आप चेक कर रहे थे तो आपको दिखता है कहीं कहीं पर कि नवंबर सितंबर में मार्केट क्रैश की बात हुई है नवंबर में निफ्टी अप बाय 300 पॉइंट्स दिसंबर 22 अप बाय 90 पॉइंट्स आज हम 23 पे बैठे हुए हैं और आज बाजार में गिरावट देखने को मिली है तो इतना अनसर्टेन मार्केट मुझे लगता है जितने दिनों से हम मार्केट ट्रैक कर रहे हैं पूरा एक साल इतना ज्यादा वोलेटिलिटी मार्केट में मुझे शायद मैंने ध्यान नहीं दिया लेकिन मुझे लगता नहीं कि इतनी ज्यादा वोलेटिलिटी देखने को मिली है बाजार में शेयर मार्केट में
Wonderful. In fact, Sati, exactly to discuss these issues, the changing landscapes and all these things in the market, I have got another guest, and his name is Mr. Sharwan Goyal. He is a fund manager and head passive and arbitrage and quant strategies at UTI AMC. But before that, I would like to, ask you some very interesting questions, which
Yeah.
would be definitely very, very useful to our investors. So, आपको क्या लगता है? Is it like 2019 in the month of December? You remember what has happened? It's the same thing that we are going to see in 2023, the way we saw it in 2020 February. Is it somewhat
March,
similar, or
I
this time
hope
it is different?
not. I sincerely hope कि ऐसा कुछ भी ना हो, वापस से हम उस फेज में ना पहुंचे। और मार्केट से ज्यादा डर लॉकडाउन और वो जो पूरा माहौल बना था एक डर का, वो ज्यादा डरा रहा है। और ऑनेस्टली मैं मार्केट तब भी इतना ठीक है, खबरों में आप देख लेते हैं नीरज, you have to read the papers, you have to keep yourself updated, so you track the market that way. But from the investment perspective, if you're a long-term investor and if you have the quality stocks, then you know it will bounce back. And that's what happened in 2020 as well, right? It crashed big time, March,
Exactly.
Feb, March, April, I guess, and then it bounced back like anything, which we never expected. And that has never happened before. इतने कम समय में बाजार इतनी जल्दी से नया हाई बना लेगा, ये हमें कहाँ उम्मीद थी। सो ये अगर
बिल्कुल।
बाजार का नेचर है, तो बाजार को हर दिन देखते रहना कि ऊपर जा रहा है, नीचे जा रहा है, गिर रहा है, क्या कर रहा है, किस वजह से गिर रहा है, आई डोंट थिंक दैट मेक्स वेरी दैट्स गुड आइडिया। अपने आप को परेशान करना होता है। सो जस्ट लेट्स
In
होप कि
fact,
2020 का सिचुएशन ना आए लेकिन फिर से।
exactly. In fact, in the current situation, when the whole
हम्म,
world is somewhat going kind of a recession, India is, I think, one of the brightest spot in the whole world economy.
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली।
Yeah,
हमारी इकोनॉमी आप देख लीजिए ना, कहाँ पे हम डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी की बात करते हैं हालांकि, लेकिन उसके तुलना में आई थिंक इंडिया की कंजम्पशन स्टोरी जो है वो एक्चुअली काम कर रही है हमारे लिए, और आने वाले कुछ सालों में ये काम करेगी। और इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि अपने बाजार को, ठीक है आपको इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर जरूर लेना चाहिए, और इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा हमारी इकोनॉमी पे, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं पड़ेगा अगर वेस्टर्न इकोनॉमीज पे कुछ वहां पर रिसेशन देखने को मिलता है। लेकिन आई गेस वी आर काइंड ऑफ प्रिपेयर्ड उसको लेने के लिए, और हम पे उस तरीके से इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा जो शायद आज से 10 साल या 15 साल पहले पड़ता अगर ये माहौल होता आज वेस्टर्न इकोनॉमी का। तो सो आई थिंक वी आर लाइक pretty much prepared to handle this situation.
I think these are the very comforting words for the investors who have seen their portfolio coming down in last few days.
Yep.
But again, coming to the topic, हम लोग का जो
Yeah,
टॉपिक है आज, बेसिकली
sure.
पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग, राइट?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
अभी हम लोग we have been investing in mutual funds for so many years, but passive investing somewhat catching up slowly,
Yep.
slowly. People are really started, doing it. So can you tell
Hmm.
us like what passive investing is all about and why people are getting so much interested on
Yeah.
passive investing?
Sure. So just couple of days ago, I was taking a session with a company for employees of a company, and I asked a couple of questions, and they one of them answered. उनका गोल है खुद के लिए पैसिव इनकम जनरेट करना। He used the word passive, right? A passive income क्या होता है? It's a money that you earn
Income,
without having to work for it every day, right? मतलब आपको एक्टिवली इस इनकम
right?
के लिए काम नहीं करना है। अब इसी को हम इन्वेस्टमेंट के एंगल से देख लें अगर नीरज, एक्टिव इन्वेस्टिंग क्या होती है? हर दिन खरीद बिक्री करना। जैसा आपने कहा कि बाजार आज गिरा, कल गिरा, आज ऊपर गया, नीचे गया, जिसको ट्रैक करना और उसके हिसाब से कॉल लेना, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एक्टिव इन्वेस्टिंग। पैसिव इसका एकदम उल्टा हो जाता है। एक रास्ता पकड़ना है ऑफ कोर्स, लेकिन आपको सिर्फ मॉनिटर करना है, ज्यादा हाथ पांव नहीं मारना होता है। उसी को हम लोग पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग कहते हैं। म्यूचुअल फंड के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अगर देखें, इन्वेस्टमेंट के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखें, म्यूचुअल फंड में होता क्या है कि किसी बेंचमार्क या इंडेक्स को रेप्लिकेट करना, उसको फॉलो करना। हर दिन सिक्योरिटीज की खरीद बिक्री नहीं करनी है, क्योंकि हर दिन खरीद बिक्री नहीं होती है तो ट्रांजैक्शन कॉस्ट भी कम होता है, एक्टिव कॉल नहीं होता है, तो फंड मैनेजर का रोल टू अ सर्टेन एक्सटेंट लिमिटेड होता है। वहां पर फंड मैनेजमेंट चार्जेस आपको थोड़े से कम मिलते हैं, कम लगते हैं। तो ये होता है पैसिव इन्वेस्टमेंट के पीछे की चीजें। Underlying assumption of passive investment strategy is, Neeraj, I think it's that market will produce long term returns. तो हमें कुछ नहीं करना है, बस एक इंडेक्स को पकड़ के बैठना है और वो अपने आप आपको एक लंबे वक्त में ठीक ठाक रिटर्न देगा। दिस इज व्हाट पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग इज ऑल अबाउट।
So, passive investing, in case of active investing, we are to a great extent or totally dependent on the skill of the fund manager, right? So, his
राइट,
ability to pick, he has got so much of skill, his research. So,
ऑफ
passive
कोर्स।
investing में वो side cut down नहीं हो जाते?
हाँ, वो हो जाते हैं, लेकिन वही तो करना है ना। देखिए, आपको हर तरह के इन्वेस्टर होते हैं ना बाजार में नीरज। कुछ लोगों को वो चाहिए कि कोई एक्टिवली मैनेज करे, कुछ लोगों को चाहिए कि नहीं भाई मुझे वो बायसनेस चाहिए ही नहीं, क्योंकि जब फंड मैनेजर कॉल ले रहा होता है तो वो एक अच्छी चीज भी हो सकती है और वो एक रिस्क भी हो सकता है, राइट। तो वो जिनको वो रिस्क नहीं चाहिए कि फंड मैनेजर कॉल ना ले, जो एक इंडेक्स हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं वो इंडेक्स के हिसाब से मेरा फंड अपना उसको बस रेप्लिकेट कर ले, उसके हिसाब से जितना उसने रिटर्न दिया है उतना मुझे भी दे दे, मुझे उतने में ही खुशी मिल जाएगी, मुझे ज्यादा रिस्क लेना ही नहीं है। तो इन अ वे पैसिव
Wonderful.
इन्वेस्टिंग थोड़ा सा कम रिस्की है तो इक्विटी ही, अगर हम इक्विटी पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग की बात कर रहे हैं तो वहां बाकी रिस्क तो रहेंगे ही जो मार्केट से जुड़े हुए रिस्क है, लेकिन कुछ रिस्क जो आप हटा सकते हैं वो है एक्टिव इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ फंड मैनेजर, वो आप नहीं लेते हैं।
What again? What are the advantages of or disadvantages? अभी देखिए हम लोग का पास दो रास्ता है, पैसिव वर्सेस एक्टिव.
करेक्ट,
Now,
राइट,
definitely दोनों का कोई advantages, disadvantages होगा. And advantage
ओके।
has to be more than the disadvantages, right? So, what are the advantages first, and then what are the disadvantages of passive funds vis-a-vis active funds?
देखिए पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग का जो एडवांटेज मुझे दिखता है नीरज, वो कि आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली मॉनिटर नहीं करना होता है मार्केट ट्रेंड्स को, और बाय और सेल फ्रीक्वेंटली नहीं करनी होती है। जब मॉनिटर करते भी हैं तो इट्स इजियर टू मॉनिटर एज इट डजंट रिक्वायर पोर्टफोलियो मॉडिफिकेशंस एज पर मार्केट मूवमेंट्स, राइट। तो ये इसकी एडवांटेज है। कॉस्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इन पैसिव इज लोअर सिंस देयर इज नो फ्रीक्वेंट बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज। अगेन एडवांटेज ये भी है कि लेस रिस्क है कंपेयर टू एक्टिव फंड, क्योंकि यहाँ पर एक बायस हम हटा रहे हैं इसलिए शायद। डिसएडवांटेज देखिए मुझे लगता है पैसिव का, और वो डिसएडवांटेज क्योंकि हर सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं, तो ये दूसरा पहलू है कि अगर फंड मैनेजर को कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी बाजार में दिखती भी है या फिर बाजार में ऐसे मौके आते हैं जहां पर जिसका इस्तेमाल करके पैसे बनाए जा सकते हैं, तो वो उस पर एक्ट नहीं कर सकता है। तो इस मायने में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी नहीं होती है। अब क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपको फंड मैनेजर का एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं चाहिए, तो आपको रिस्क भी कम मिल रहा है, लग रहा है यहाँ पे। लेकिन अगर कम दर्द होगा तो कम गेन की भी संभावना हो सकती है, लेस पेन एंड लेस गेन। तो अगर हो सकता है कि एक्टिव के पास एक वो ऑप्शन हो या फिर मौके मिल जाए जहां पर वो अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस दिखा सके, वो बेंचमार्क को बीट कर सके, मार्केट को बीट कर सके। पैसिव के साथ वो चीज नहीं होगी, वो अमूमन थोड़े से पीछे ही रहते हैं अपने जो इंडेक्स को फॉलो करते हैं, रेप्लिकेट करते हैं। तो ये इसका डिसएडवांटेज हम मान के चल सकते हैं पैसिव में।
Swati, I'm going to ask you a personal question now.
हाँ,
Do you invest in passive funds? In your investment, आपका
yes, I do.
passive
I
funds
have
है क्या?
one. I have
Then
investment in.
वेटेज किसका ज्यादा है, पैसिव और एक्टिव का?
No, look, 80% of my investment is in direct equity, 20% में, and I'm all equity. I am not into any fixed income instrument. थोड़ा सा बस गोल्ड का होगा, वो भी सिर्फ शौक से खरीदने के लिए, चेक करने के लिए हाउ टू बाय गोल्ड में मैंने खरीद लिया था, अदरवाइज वो भी नहीं होता। और बाकी जो बचे हुए अब 80% डायरेक्ट इक्विटी हो गया, इनफैक्ट 80 से ज्यादा ही होगा, 90% प्रोबेबली। 10% इज इन म्यूचुअल फंड, उसमें भी इंडेक्स फंड में।
ओके गुड. एंड इंडेक्स में कौन सा फंड, निफ्टी, निफ्टी
आई एम
और
इनटू,
निफ्टी
देखिए लार्ज
नेक्स्ट
कैप का
50 और
एक्सपोजर
समथिंग लाइक
ऑलरेडी
दैट?
है, लार्ज कैप का एक्सपोजर ऑलरेडी है काफी, तो मैंने इंडेक्स में आई गॉन विथ मिड कैप इंडेक्स काइंड ऑफ थिंग दिस टाइम, क्योंकि वहां पर मुझे
ओके ग्रेट
हालांकि
ग्रेट.
रिपोर्ट देखें अगर, रिसर्च कहते हैं कि स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप में अल्फा जनरेट करने की पोटेंशियल कहीं ज्यादा है कंपेयर टू लार्ज कैप ना, एक्टिव फंड्स में। बट आई स्टिल थॉट कि मैं बाकी जो 90% है हम एक्टिवली मैनेजिंग इट, तो थोड़ा सा जो पीछे का पार्ट है, टेल पार्ट, आई थिंक उसको मैं थोड़ा सा पैसिव में डाल के रख दूं, उस पर ज्यादा दिमाग ना लगाना पड़े।
चलो बहुत बढ़िया. So, Swati ji, I'm going to now introduce Mr. Sharwan Goyal, who is basically a fund manager from UTI. And okay, let me introduce him. He is a passive arbitrage and quant strategies at UTI AMC. He's a chartered financial analyst by qualification from US and postgraduate in management from Wellington Institute of Management. He has got more than 15 years of experience in risk management Management, Research and Fund Management at UTI AMC. It was a great pleasure to have Mr. Sharwan. Mr. Open your camera. Great to see you. Welcome to the stage,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sarwan.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wish all your viewers Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you. Wonderful. Sarwan, I have given a kind of introduction of yours, but would like to hear from you. So, how has been your journey? What is your experiences in managing fund? And how do you expect the whole market to unfold? What's your view?
Right. So I have been in equity markets for about 16 years now. And
Yeah.
initially I joined as part of risk management, then I moved to portfolio analysis, and ultimately I'm managing passive funds. And we at UTI are managing large piece of passive investing. Currently, we are managing close to $10 billion worth of passive funds across 12 ETF and index funds. And we believe that as a core strategy, in the sense, for a first time investors who is new to the market, who is understanding the nuance of equity investing, the passive funds, plain vanilla market cap based, plain vanilla funds such as Nifty, Sensex, or Nifty Next 50, these kind of funds are appropriate for first time investors, because currently there are a whole lot of funds available in the market. So first time investors is getting intimidated by plethora of investment products. So he's getting confused where to invest. So I believe that such investors should focus on asset allocation, and to have their equity allocation, probably uh, plain vanilla market cap based funds are much more suitable for them to begin with. As and when they understand the nuance of equity investing, in that case they can look at various other thematic active or thematic or smart beta strategies.
Wonderful. So, in going with the today's topic about passive fund, creating wealth through passive funds, and you have been managing actively your passive funds. So, I'd like to hear from you. Our audience would like to know more about passive funds, the pros and cons, advantages, and why really go ahead with passive investing. Then, what should be his strategy? Best fund, etc., etc. There are so many questions in mind. So why don't you, give a small presentation, and after that, we'll have lots of questions to ask you. In fact, our viewers would like to
Sure.
ask questions, and Swati and me, we have got questions for you. But before that, would like to, present in presentation from you.
Sure. Right. So we have seen phenomenal growth in passive funds AUM in last 7-8 years. So share of passive funds have grown from about 1% into March 2015 to about 16% now. So the 16 times growth in last 7-8 years. At the same time, on absolute AUM basis, the AUM has grown from about 50,000 crore in March 2017 to 6.5 lakh crore, which is again 13x growth in last 5-6 years. So we have seen phenomenal growth in passive investing. Typically, when market is at nascent stage of development, there are a lot of opportunities for active managers to generate alpha. And we have seen in the longer term that the initial market stages in most of the developed markets, as such as US as well, the large part of AUM is managed by active funds. But as and when market grows and information asymmetry enjoyed by a few market participants starts diminishing, and once market becomes mature, share of passive funds have grown phenomenally well in the US and most of the other developed markets. And we have seen similar sign of growth in passive funds in India as well in last 5 years. So mainly there are 3-4 factors which are driving growth of passive investing. First and foremost, retirement funds such as EPFO and various PF funds have started investing 5 to 15% of their annual accretion in passive funds. At the same time, SEBI has categorized various schemes wherein, say, large cap funds have to invest at least 80% of the money in top 100 stocks. Earlier, that kind of categorization was not very clear, and analyzing various funds was very difficult. So I believe that in last 5 years or so, the analyzing active funds performance has become much more easier. Similarly, uh, because of, as I mentioned earlier, because of market becoming much more mature, information asymmetry enjoyed by few market participants started diminishing, and a lot of large corporates are disseminating the information to all market participants at the same time, rather than few market participants having information edge. So I believe these are the factors which are driving growth of passive funds in last 5-7 years. Moving on. Right. So now there are two options through which one can take exposure in passive funds. From investment point of view, from fund manager point of view, both are similar, because objective of passive funds is to replicate the benchmark, wherein as a fund manager I have to buy same securities and in the same proportion as underlying benchmark without having any sectoral or sector call. So which means from fund management side both are same, but the way investors invest, the ETF and index fund differs. For example, a particular investor who wants to take advantage of intraday price movement, in that case that investor can invest in ETF, and there are INAV, or so these ETFs are traded on secondary markets, and any investor can buy these ETFs with as low as 100 rupee, because some of the ETFs are having NAV of 100 rupee as well. So probably you can invest very small time and you can invest on live basis. So while in case of index fund you will get end of day NAV, so just like any other mutual fund schemes wherein investors are investing and you are getting day end NAV. So similar to that, index funds you are getting day end NAV. Second, in case of ETF, investor needs to have demat and trading account. So which is not the case in case of index funds. So I believe that slightly savvy investors who are having nuance, or who understand the nuance of ETF investing, or who are investing in direct equities, those people can invest in ETFs, while other people who feel don't want to take that hassle can invest in index fund, because index funds are much more simpler to invest, while from fund management perspective both are similar. Moving on. So now how transaction takes place in secondary markets, right? So just like any other company's shares are traded, ETFs are also traded on secondary markets. The way you are buying any other stock, similar fashion you can buy ETFs as well, because these ETFs are traded on secondary market. So investors who want to buy or sell, they can transact it through secondary market. In turn, AMC has appointed market participants, which are called authorized participants as well. So which are supplying liquidity to the investors. So for example, if an investor wants to buy a large amount of ETFs, then the market participants would provide that much liquidity, or the market participants will become seller in that case, and who in turn will create liquidity through us, or come to AMCs for creation of those units. So to cut the long story short, investing in ETF for retail investor is just like investing in any other shares. Moving on. So there are a whole lot of benefits which passive funds are offering. First and foremost, passive funds are offering diversification. So if a particular investor is investing in a particular stock, then he is exposed to stock specific risk. While if you are buying Nifty and Nifty Next 50, then you are getting exposure to about 70% of all listed companies in terms of market cap. So just by investing 100 rupees or 1000 rupee, you can diversify your allocation to 50 or 100 stocks, which are covering 70% of India's market cap in terms of total size of the company. Second, since passive funds are not doing research, or the cost of execution or cost of managing these passive funds is lower for AMCs, so that is the reason why these funds are available at low cost. So some of the ETFs are available at as low as 5 to 7 basis point annual cost as well. So passive funds are offering low cost avenue or low cost vehicle for investing in equities. Third, you don't have to track, if you are investing in say Nifty, then you don't have to track your investment, because these passive funds are beta trackers. By investing in Nifty, you are getting exposure to top 50 companies traded on NSE, and your exposure is much more diversified as compared to investing in any particular company. And passive funds are not exposed to systemic risk. For example, in case of active funds, the fund manager may react to a particular information or news flows in a certain way, which may or may not turn out to be favorable. While passive funds are not exposed to human biases. So each and every person has some biases. So passive funds are not exposed to these biases of a particular fund manager. And similarly, passive funds are offering tax efficiency as well. So just like any other equity mutual fund schemes or shares, you are getting short-term and long-term capital gain and you are getting charged short-term and long-term capital gain in line with equity investing. Moving on. So we at UTI are offering a plethora of ETFs and index funds. So we are offering broad market cap based indices such as Nifty, Sensex, Nifty Next 50. So these three funds are available both in ETF form as well as index fund form. While some of the smart beta strategies are available in index fund form, because managing secondary market liquidity for smart beta funds could be difficult. So that is the reason why we have gone through index fund route while launching some of the smart beta strategies. So I will be talking about these smart beta strategies in the subsequent slides, but for the time being, we can move on. So now people may say that managing passive funds is easier, but there are some differentiation within those passive funds. So while selecting a particular passive fund, investor needs to look at these parameters. For example, first and foremost, cost, which or total expense ratio. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the ETFs are available at as low as 5 basis point to the tune of 30-40 basis point as well. So investors should consider at what cost those funds are available. So that is one of the factor which investors needs to consider. Second, and as compared to active funds which are available at 1 to 2% expense ratio, passive funds are available at almost 1/10 of the cost. So which means that passive funds are offering low cost way of investing in equities. Second, since the objective of the passive fund is to replicate the benchmark, which means as a fund manager, I have to replicate the benchmark, and my end objective is to generate returns as close as benchmark. So for example, if the underlying benchmarks, say Nifty has generated 10% return in last 1 year, the objective of the fund manager is to broadly replicate the benchmark and generate return as close as benchmark, subject to tracking error and cost. So adjusted for cost and tracking error, return should broadly replicate to the benchmark. So while investing in any passive funds, you should track the tracking error of the fund, because if the tracking error of the fund is low, which means that the fund manager is able to replicate the benchmark much more efficiently as compared to the competition, and which also means that the end objective of investing in passive fund is to generate broadly similar to benchmark returns. So funds which are having low tracking error have the better ability to replicate the benchmark. So apart from cost, you should look at tracking error of the fund as well. Third, so whenever you are investing in any fund, size also matters, because in case of index funds, cost of execution is borne by the fund. So if a fund size is large enough, so in that case, even high inflow and outflow won't impact the fund as compared to a fund which is small in size. So apart from cost, tracking error, size of the fund is also very important for investing in index fund. So apart from these three parameters which are required for investing in index fund, if you are investing in ETF, apart from these three parameters, you should also consider secondary market liquidity. So which is also called bid and ask. So for example, a price of ETF is 100 rupee while buying. So there will be some bid ask spread. So buying cost is 100 rupees. If selling cost is 99.8, so which means there is some spread there, right? So investors should look at or invest in funds which are having low spread or low bid ask spread. So which is also called bid ask spread, or in the sense liquidity of the secondary market of that particular ETF. So one should consider funds which are having good secondary market liquidity. And apart from that, if you are investing in ETF, then you have to, apart from the fund cost, which is TER, you have to pay brokerage and demat charges as well. So the overall cost of ownership of any ETF includes cost charged by AMC as well as cost charged by the broker, because you have to buy these funds through secondary market, and apart from AMC fees, you have to pay brokerage as well. Moving on. So we at UTI are having more than 2 decades of experience in managing passive funds. Our UTI Nifty Index Fund is having almost 22 years track record, and it is the largest index fund in India with about 9,000 crore AUM. And it is the largest, at the same time, it is the oldest index fund available in the market. So experience of managing passive fund is very important, because with experience, we are able to develop systems and processes in such a way that we are able to replicate the benchmark much more efficiently. And we are one of the leading player in passive funds. We are managing close to $10 billion worth of ETFs. And we are having very strong track record in terms of replicate the benchmark. We are having one of the lowest tracking error across our funds. And we have developed systems and processes in such a way that we are able to efficiently replicate the benchmark. So one should consider all these aspects while investing in any passive fund. Moving on. So here we have shown performance of various ETFs and index funds of UTI. So as you can see that the total expense ratio of some of the ETFs is as low as 6 basis point, and we are managing close to 85,000 crore rupees worth of ETFs currently, and we are able to efficiently replicate the benchmark. So our tracking error is as low as 3 basis point for Nifty ETF in last 1 year and 2 basis in last 2 years. And in terms of peer ranking also, across all our funds, we are among top 3 in terms of tracking error, or we are having lowest tracking errors. So I will stop here and then probably we can take Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Sharwan. It was lots of clarity that you have given with respect to investing in passive funds. In fact, we have got so many questions that coming from our viewers. But before we get into the questions from the viewers, I would like to invite Swati. Swati has got so many questions to ask you as well. So Swati, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Shravan, I checked this category जिसमें आपका ये फंड है जिसके बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं आज UTI Nifty 200 Momentum 30 फंड and इसमें मुझे दिख रहा है कि already there are 3 funds following the same index and there are 4 ETFs also. So
Okay.
what is the differentiator here with this UTI fund?
Right. So we are the first AMC to launch momentum-based strategies way back in March 2021. And within about 1.5 years or so, the fund has scaled up to about more than 2,000 crore AUM. So it is the largest smart beta strategies available in India. In fact, the second the fund is close to 1,000 crore. And as I mentioned earlier, apart from cost, the size of AUM, how efficiently you are able to replicate the benchmark is also very critical. So we at UTI have developed systems and processes in such a way that we are able to replicate the benchmark much more efficient. We have a dedicated team which is managing passive funds. So their sheer size is allowing us to invest in passive funds, and which is helping us replicate the benchmark much more efficiently as compared to the competition. So apart from the total expense ratio, you have to consider size of the fund as well as tracking error of the fund while investing in any particular ETF.
Okay, and another thing, because there are ETFs also available following the same strategy on same index, and the expense ratio is much lower than the index fund, then why should an investor go with index fund and not ETF?
Right.
Besides the fact that you need demat account to invest in ETF.
Right. You rightly mentioned that passive funds, there are 2 types of passive fund, ETF and index fund.
Right.
From fund management perspective, both are same. As a fund manager, my job is to replicate the benchmark for both ETF and index fund. But the way you are investing is different. If you are investing in ETF, which could be available at slightly low cost, but apart from a total expense ratio charged by the AMC, you have to pay brokerages to the broker, right? So you have to consider all these elements, and you need demat account and trading account as well. Secondary market liquidity for some of these smart beta strategies could be challenged. So that is the reason why we have chosen index fund route for investing in these smart beta strategies. So broadly, from overall cost of ownership perspective, both are more or less similar, whether you are investing in ETF or index fund. But if you are investing from longer term time horizon, it doesn't matter. Minor change difference in expense ratio doesn't matter.
And why do you think? Sorry.
All these factors needs to be considered while choosing a particular scheme.
Okay. Right. And Sharwan, why do you think momentum has an edge over other factors and indices based on these factors in the long run?
Sure. So momentum is very popular smart beta strategy globally.
Right.
There are a lot of literature written globally about efficacy of this particular investment style. People have
Hmm.
analyzed almost 5 decades of data in developed markets such as US, and they found
Hmm.
that momentum is one of the smart beta strategy which is able to outperform other smart beta strategies on consistent basis.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, so momentum is agnostic to any particular investment style.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
primarily, momentum is based on the hypothesis that current market trends will persist over medium to long term. And if you are buying recent winners and holding those winners for some time, in that case, your outcome tends to be better. Because
Hmm.
typically, as a human being, we are driven by what is working. For example, whenever real estate cycle starts performing well, it
Hmm.
continues for some time
Hmm.
before the rally getting fizzled out. Similarly,
Hmm.
in equity investing also, stocks which are in favor, they continue to do well because mainly because their products are well accepted by the market in the marketplace. At the same time, the market environment could be favoring those stocks. For example, shift from growth to value happens once in a while. So from
Yeah.
2015 to first wave of COVID, growth as an asset class was doing much better.
Hmm.
And after COVID wave, we have seen that value has started picking up and value
Hmm.
oriented stocks have started doing much better. So
Hmm.
since momentum is agnostic to either growth or value, so whichever
Hmm.
asset class is doing better, after initial good performance, it will pick up those kind of stocks. So for example, before COVID, momentum strategy has invested about 70 to 80% in growth oriented stocks. But
Right.
after COVID wave, uh, about two-third money is invested in value oriented stocks. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
this
Hmm.
kind of facility may not be available in other fundamental factor oriented smart beta strategies. So if you are investing in high quality, high growth or value oriented strategy, you are getting stick to a particular investment style. While
Correct.
momentum strategy is offering you that kind of diversification wherein it will keep moving from one style to another style depending upon which side momentum is moving.
Hmm. Hmm. And one last question, Sherman. I was just checking the numbers. Just only in large cap space, we have almost 100 plus passive funds option, including ETF. In
Correct.
mid cap, we have now more than 10, small cap almost 6 to 7. Now, given the scenario like this, uh, what do you think? How much weightage should be given to these factor strategies based funds in the portfolio? If I want to go passive way, कितना मुझे ट्रेडिशनल पैसिव फंड्स पे रखना है और कितना मुझे फोकस अपना फैक्टर वाले जो फैक्टर इन्वेस्टिंग बेस्ड जो फंड्स है स्मार्ट बीटा फंड्स उस पे रखना है.
Correct. So I would advise people who are new to market. So first time investors को पहले starting में market cap oriented funds में पैसा डालना चाहिए, such as
Right.
Nifty, Sensex, Nifty and X50. So
Hmm.
as and when investors understand the nuance of these smart beta strategies, they understand the risk and opportunity in these smart beta strategies, then they can
Hmm.
start allocating small proportion initially. And as and when you gain confidence that this strategy is doing much better as compared to other smart beta strategies, then you should gradually increase exposure to these smart beta strategies. So I would urge first time investors to start primarily with broad market cap based indices. Small proportion can be invested in smart beta strategies.
Hmm.
So there are two types of investors in the marketplace. First,
Hmm.
people who are ready to take risk. So I believe momentum kind of strategy is appropriate for such investors because momentum by nature is slightly aggressive investment style. It has
Hmm.
delivered good performance in the risk in the past. It has generated 21% returns CAGR in last 10 years as compared to 14-15% for broad market cap based index Nifty. But at the same time, volatility is much higher as compared to other investment style. So people who are
Okay.
ready to take risk can invest 10 to 20% allocation in smart beta strategies such as momentum. Similarly, people who are risk averse can look to invest in low volatility based strategies because
Hmm.
first time investors could get swayed by market momentum and in the later on they should not see degrowth or reduction in their NAV. So those people who are slightly risk averse, they can start investing in low volatility strategy because typically low vol strategies fall lesser during market fall. So, for example, low volatility strategy has fallen just about 35% during global financial crisis, while broad market cap based index Nifty 200 has fallen about 50%. Similarly, during COVID wave also, low vol strategy has fallen much lesser. So, this low volatility strategy is providing downside protection whenever market is correcting.
Okay, it's very interesting to see now that passive is less risky than the active one. लेकिन passive
While
में भी
without compromising
काफी
on upside whenever market is ready.
Yeah, right. So I was saying कि passive और active में passive कम risky है active से और passive में भी now you have two categories एक है traditional index fund kind of thing and the smart beta funds और smart beta में भी ज्यादा रिस्क लेने वालों के लिए भी ऑप्शन है और कम रिस्क लेने वालों के लिए भी ऑप्शन है तो हमने अब बहुत ही ज्यादा दायरा बढ़ा दिया है और लोगों के पास ऑप्शंस बहुत ज्यादा है तो ये बहुत जरूरी है कि आपकी रिस्क लेने की क्षमता क्या है उसको सही तरीके से पहचाने एंड देन पिक अ राइट फंड फॉर योर पोर्टफोलियो दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड नीरज
Thank you, Swati.
आई थिंक नीरज की कुछ नेटवर्क इशू हो रही है यहाँ पे थैंक यू शरवण आई थिंक लोगों को बहुत क्लैरिटी मिल गई होगी आपके इस पूरे फंड के बारे में भी और ये जो स्मार्ट बीटा स्ट्रैटेजी है जिसको हम लोग बहुत नामों से फैक्टर इन्वेस्टिंग भी कहते हैं स्मार्ट बीटा फंड भी कहते हैं स्ट्रैटेजी बेस्ड इंडेक्सेस फंड भी कहते हैं तो उनको इसके बारे में भी एक डिटेल पिक्चर मिल गई होगी सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम शरवण
Thank you. Thank you.
और आई थिंक